Good evening. You're now with me, Anigui, for TVS Nightline. We begin with this story. Malaysia has strongly condemned the military attacks by the US and Israel on Iran, describing them as violations of international law. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says the violent actions, which reportedly resulted in the death of national leaders, senior officials and around 180 children, constitute a breach of a sovereignty of an independent nation.
Tidak boleh dipertikai kenyataan bahawa tindakan ganas ini menyerang negara berdaulat dan merdeka adalah tindakan biadab, melanggar prinsip piagam Pertubuhan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu dan melanggar semua peraturan ketetapan dalam tatanan hukum undang-undang dunia. Oleh itu, Malaysia dengan ini mengutuk keras serangan rejim Zionis Israel dan Amerika Syarikat terhadap Iran. Dan kita berpandangan bahawa tindakan ketenteraan yang berterusan ke atas negara bebas dan merdeka Iran, betapapun perbezaan dasar.
At the same time, he called on Gulf nations to unite in defending the region's freedom and independence from external military threats. In a related development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Malaysia is closely monitoring the safety of more than 29,112 Malaysians currently in Middle East countries affected by the conflict. Those in the region include workers, tourists and Umrah pilgrims. Yesterday, the Foreign Ministry confirmed that all Malaysians stranded in several countries due to flight cancellations following the attacks by Israel and the United States on Iran are safe. In a statement, the ministry said its missions are extending assistance and remain in contact with affected Malaysians, including those in Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, Syria, Jordan and the United Arab Emirates.
Strikes towards Iran were not preemptive as the US and Israel implied it to be. It is a repetitive operation similar to those they have conducted in the past on countries like Lebanon, Syria, Sudan, Iraq, Palestine, and the list goes on. The goal is simple: to gain absolute power and racial supremacy above all others while controlling all major economic sea routes across the globe. This is not a conspiracy as Zionists want you to believe, but has been verbally implied by Benjamin Netanyahu in many instances in the past and present, implying that all these West Asian countries somehow are in possession of nuclear-powered weapons and demilitarizing them would benefit the region.
Our action will help make the world a much safer place.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
We will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America.
Netanyahu has been uttering the same sentiment and propaganda for the past 3 decades.
If Iran acquires a nuclear bomb, it could use any one of these shadowy groups to threaten the United States, threaten the West.
Time is running out.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
There is little doubt that Israel would benefit significantly if its campaign to demilitarize Iran succeeds. However, the financial impact would be borne by America, which is already grappling with major domestic issues. The United States has vowed to target any future leadership in Iran if it remains hostile toward American interests. According to veteran war hawk Senator Lindsey Graham, the targeted killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and other senior officials marks the opening phase of U.S.-Israel regime change operation launched on Saturday.
The Ayatollah is a religious Nazi. His regime was founded around three principles: to purify Islam, to dominate Islam, to take over Islam, to do away with Saudi Arabia as the center of gravity for Islam and let it be Iran, to kill the Jews, to annihilate the Jewish state and come after us, drive us out of the region. That's what he said. He can't do that anymore because he's dead. And anybody who wants to do that in the future, you're going to be dead too.
In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Graham calls for continued targeted actions against Iran's leadership, saying the current government is nearing collapse and that any future leadership must not threaten American interests. Graham says any new Iranian government willing to cooperate with the United States would find support from Washington, while those who remain hostile would face consequences. He cites decades of Iranian backing for anti-American militancy. Meanwhile, he also praises U.S. President Donald Trump's interventionist foreign policy approach, describing it as a model for U.S. strategy. Graham urges closer military coordination with Israel against Lebanon's Iran-aligned Hezbollah. In addition, he calls for tougher action against Cuba and urges increased pressure on Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel. U.S. support for Israel remains a long-standing bipartisan policy in the Middle East. Weeks before the joint strike on Iran, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu does not seek war with Iran and dismisses claims that Israel is pushing the U.S. into conflict. He also rejects assertions that the 2003 Iraq invasion serves Israeli interests.
France is ready to assist Gulf countries and Jordan following recent Iranian attacks. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot stressed that any French action would align with existing agreements with allies and the principles of collective self-defense.
Pays amis qui ont été ciblés délibérément par les missiles et les drones des gardiens de la Révolution et entraînés dans une guerre qu'ils n'avaient pas choisie. Arabie Saoudite, Émirats Arabes Unis, Qatar, Irak, Bahreïn, Koweït, Oman et Jordanie, la France exprime son soutien entier et sa pleine solidarité. Elle se tient prête, conformément aux accords qui la lient à ses partenaires et aux principes de légitime défense collective prévus par le droit international, à participer à leur défense.
The situation has intensified following 2 days of joint U.S.-Israeli attacks, prompting Iranian retaliation that reportedly targeted Gulf states and a British military base in Cyprus. Barrett said an estimated 400,000 French citizens were residents or currently visiting countries in and around the Gulf. Fresh strikes were heard across the Gulf on Monday, including on the cities of Dubai, Doha, and Manama, as Iran's army said it had used 15 cruise missiles in attacks on a U.S. airbase in Kuwait and vessels in the Indian Ocean.
Now back in Malaysia, contributors to the Employees Provident Fund, EPF, are advised not to rush into withdrawing their dividends, but to retain their savings for long-term benefits. Director of the MBA program at Putra Business School, University Putra Malaysia, UPM, Professor Dr. Ahmed Rosman says this approach is crucial for building sustainable savings and ensuring better financial preparedness for retirement.
Dan kita faham bahawa setiap individu itu tidak sama dari segi keperluan keperluan kewangan dan juga komitmen bulanan, maka 10% itu memang digunakan untuk maksud tersebut. Tetapi kalau ada kesempatan untuk terus menyimpan, jadi ia akan dapat pulangan yang lebih tinggi disebabkan compounding oleh dividen tersebut. Maka saya lihat walaupun ianya untuk persaraan, tetapi masih lagi ada ruang untuk orang kata emergency lah, untuk kecemasan.
Last Saturday, EPF announced a 6.15% dividend rate for both conventional and Sharia savings in 2025, with total income distribution of 79.6 billion ringgit. Razman notes that recent withdrawal trends from a country indicate growing financial maturity among members. He adds that differences in saving rates across ethnic groups are influenced by saving culture and employment type. EPF data shows Bumiputra contributors account for 66.12% or 8.87 million of the total 13.41 million contributors. However, he says total Bumiputra contributions stand at only 42.18% or 401.12 billion ringgit out of the overall 951.03 billion ringgit.
And a total of 20 projects worth 4.83 billion ringgit are currently being implemented in Sabah and Sarawak. Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Amar Fadila Yusof says the project designs incorporate climate change factors to enhance infrastructure resilience.
15 projects in Sabah involve an allocation of 1.49 billion ringgit, while 10 projects in Sarawak are worth 3.34 billion ringgit, all at various stages of implementation. Fadila, who is also in charge of water transformation nationwide, says improvements include integrating the climate change factor, CCF, into technical design of flood mitigation projects.
Di Sabah ada 15 projek melibatkan perbelanjaan 1.49 bilion, manakala Sarawak 10 projek bernilai 3.34 bilion ringgit. Juga dalam pelbagai peringkat pelaksanaan. Salah satu penambahbaikan adalah reka bentuk bagi projek-projek RTB yang juga telah mengambil kira faktor perubahan iklim ataupun climate change factor CCF dalam pengiraan teknikal.
At the same time, 29 projects worth 9.377 billion ringgit have been identified in the East Coast and are at various stages of implementation. He also adds that 140 flood mitigation projects have been approved nationwide, including new and continuation projects, along with the deployment of 606 mobile pumps to speed up water discharge during prolonged heavy rain and stagnant floods.
A 20-year-old student was arrested by police in Serian earlier today for alleged possession of drugs. Serian Police Chief Freddie Stanislaus Bian says the arrest was carried out by the district's Narcotics Criminal Investigation Division with help from members of the public and will be investigated under Section 12(2) of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952.
According to him, officers seized about 0.57 grams of what is believed to be methamphetamine from the suspect. The student, who is from Kuching, is currently studying in Serian. The student was also detained under Section 15(1)(a) of the same Act after a urine test came back positive for amphetamine and methamphetamine. He is now being remanded to assist with further investigations. Superintendent Freddie advised the public to stay away from drug abuse, stressing that firm action will be taken against those involved, including repeat offenders. He also called on the community to continue sharing information on drug-related activities with the police to help tackle the issue in the district.
And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.